Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Wednesday, January 9th. And Nick Foster is with us from Voluntary Action Center. And this actually is a very, very special day. Right, Nick?
Yeah, I guess so. Depends on your point of view.
Yeah, today's your birthday.
It is my birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
I won't ask you how old you are.
Another trip around the sun, so it's nice.
I like that, another trip around the sun.
That's
but
right.
you're younger than I am. But you're here at Voluntary Action Center. And you had a pretty good holiday season, didn't you, with Voluntary?
We did. The holiday program went really, really well. I was very pleased about it and so grateful to the community for all the support we got. So I think we want to let people know what the result of that was. And so I've got some numbers. They're actually printed right in front of me that I want to share with you. And then I want to tell you a story about one of our clients. But we served 951 families this year. That represents 3,270 individual people.
Was that more or less than last year?
It was a little bit less than last year. We cut down the number last year because we fell a little bit short in sponsorships, but we served a whole lot of people this year. And one of the interesting numbers about that is that 1,997 of those individuals are children. So we served about 2,000 children this year with the program, and some of them received bikes. We provided 200 bikes this year,
wow.
Which is a lot of fun. Everybody enjoys seeing the bikes go out the door. So a lot of toys, puzzles, games, those kinds of things, but also some very basic kinds of needs were met. 98% of the families received clothing of one kind or another. 41% received hygiene products. 58% received household cleaning supplies. 72% received kitchen items, and 66% received bedding and that kind of thing. So a lot of sheets and blankets, pillows, utensils for the kitchen. We're meeting a lot of basic needs with this, and the community needs to feel good about that. There's no way we could do it except that the sponsors come through and provide those items for these families.
Right. You had a story that you wanted to share.
Yes. So I mentioned all these numbers, these percentages of people who receive these various things, but 100% of the families receive food for the holidays. And one of the ways that we provide that, or that our sponsors do that, is by giving us a gift card that we just pass on to the family, and they do their shopping. And then we also write vouchers. Someone can write a check for us or give us cash. We'll write a voucher, and the family can go do the shopping. And so my job is to provide those gift cards and vouchers to families as they come to pick up. Well, this woman came in, and she was accompanied by a gentleman who I assume was her husband, perhaps her brother, a family member of some kind, maybe a neighbor. But I got the impression this was the first time she had done this, because she didn't quite seem to understand what was happening in a way. And so I handed her the voucher, and I saw what I see very often. Her eyes got a little bit big, and she sort of caught her breath, and she took the voucher from me as I explained it, and then I saw tears come to her eyes, and she leaned up against the person who was with her, looked up at him and said, "I can get a ham." And it was in that very moment that I thought, okay, I get it. I get it again. And I said to her, what we say to the community, this is the reason we do this, is so that we can fill that void in between being able to and not being able to, so that people are able to do those kinds of things. So this holiday season, when I sit down at a holiday table, and I'll do that more than once, I'm going to be thinking about that woman and the ham that's on her table, and for so many others in our community who are helped in the same way, in ways that we are not going to be aware of, but we know are true.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for everything you do with the Voluntary Action Center.
Well, you bet. And we're back at it. We're seeing folks every day.
All right. So if people want to help out, the web address is?
VACMO.org. VACMO.org.
Got it. Nick Foster, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
Paul. VACMO.org. And again, we say happy birthday to Nick Foster, who is keeping his age a secret from us. But he is younger than I am. All right. Nadia Navarrete-Tindall, Native Plants and More. Good to have you here, Nadia.
Yeah, it's nice being here.
Yeah, it's been a little while since you've been here.
That's right.
But you specialize in native plants. You're kind of like an encyclopedia on all of our native plants. But you're doing something else now, right?
Yeah, you know that I'm an independent consultant and educator now, and so I help people to to include native plants in their gardens, as well as doing teaching and training. But in addition to that, I started doing some art with native plants.
You started doing art with native plants.
I will call it art because it really takes time. And if you can see this in this...
Yeah, you put together a card, and for people who are watching on television, you can see this is a beautiful card, but for listening on the radio, explain what's on there.
Well, I usually use sumac, and this one particularly...
This is sumac.
It's sumac leaves in different kinds of sumacs.
Mm-hmm.
And also I use artemisia flowers. Yeah. I can use Queen Anne's lace, which is not native, but it's beautiful on cards. So the idea is, well, I'm selling them, but I also want to mention that their native plants can be, like if somebody wants to do something out of them, in the wintertime especially, that we get a little, like a cabin fever sometimes. But you can, cabin fever.
Oh, cabin fever. So you
Yes.
get a little cabin fever, right.
Yeah. So you can gather these plants early in the spring and summer. And then in the winter time, you can be busy doing art.
Yeah.
And
so how are you preserving the leaves? Here's another one. How are you preserving the leaves that you're putting on the card?
Well, they have to have a layer of, it's like a special glue that we use so they last longer. But the idea is that these things are not permanent because they're native plants. But if you want to keep them longer, you can actually frame them. Like this one, for example. That one is also made with sumac leaves, and this one is just artemisia. Mm-hmm. And it's just so simple.
So if you frame these cards then with the leaves that are put on, that they will last a lot longer than if they're just exposed like this.
Yeah, like with this cover, they are protected from insects, and it sometimes happens in your house. But this artemisia, I almost guarantee that it's not going to be eaten by anybody.
Right.
Because it's actually called a wormweed.
Yeah, a wormweed.
Yeah, it's used to kill animals in goats.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want more information on any of this, on native plants, how can they get in touch with you, Nadia?
Well, my email is nativeplants&more@gmail.com.
nativeplants&more@gmail.com. And this lady is an expert on native plants. If you want to include them in your yard and garden, you can give all that information, can't you?
That's right.
All right.
I have a Facebook page too.
Okay. The Facebook page, just Google it, right?
Yes, it's Native Plants and More.
Thank you, Nadia.